continue on this afternoon. Let's get the very latest of what's going on with the 49ers. There's always some drama there. Check in with Eric Crocker, host of Locked On 49ers. Eric, this is Jason along with FB Jr. How are you?
I'm doing good. Probably a lot better than Trey Lance at this moment.
Yeah, how is Trey feeling? Obviously, we talked earlier. There's ego shot. I mean, the guy was given the QB1 last year at this time, and now he's QB3 and may not have a home. How do you think he's dealing with all this?
I think it's got to be tough. There are a lot of people on social media talking about how, well, he got paid a lot of money. He's made millions of dollars. Like, he'll be fine. And I don't think they understand how, like, these professional athletes work. Obviously, making money is really cool, but these guys play a game because they're passionate about it. They want to continue to improve, and there's no rush like being out there, I would assume for a quarterback, taking snaps, making plays, really just being on the field and being a part of a winning culture. So the fact that he won't be a part of it probably with the 49ers, at least not the guy leading the team, which is what he was drafted to do, I think that's got to be extremely difficult for him.
Eric, do you think this is more of a luck situation with Trey Lance, or do you think the 49ers did him dirty?
I think it's just very unfortunate. A guy who was drafted to a team that had Super Bowl aspirations, so they had to play Jimmy Garoppolo that first year. And one thing that people kind of forget, heading to that 2021 season, Kyle Shanahan had one winning season in 4 years. Now, he went to the Super Bowl, but it wasn't like it was great. So I don't think he was going to risk playing a young quarterback, whoever that was, right? It could be Trevor Lawrence, it could be Justin Fields, it could be Mac Jones or Trey Lance. He wasn't going to risk that and not play a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, who's a proven veteran winner. So he did what he had to do. The unfortunate part was Trey Lance, all right, now it's your time to go. He snaps his ankle. And the even more unfortunate part is the guy that the 49ers took with the last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, ends up coming in and playing exceptionally well. So I would say he wasn't done dirty from that standpoint. There are some things I kind of disagree with the process, but overall, I think more unfortunate than unfair.
So as we're talking with Eric Crocker, Eric, for the most part, depth charts don't change much during the season unless there's an injury. So if we assume there's no injury going forward and somehow, some way, Trey Lance remains a 49er, in your mind, how far of a separation do we have between Darnold and Lance for that QB2? I mean, is there a big separation between those two?
I think the separation that there is right now comes from just being, just understanding more of what Kyle Shanahan is asking and being able to execute that. I think a lot of that comes with just experience, right? Like if you just sat there and watched the practice, which, I went to several of the practices, it didn't look like, oh, Sam Darnold, he's just better than Trey Lance. But then once you saw them in the game and you see everything kind of moving, and at times you can see, man, the game is moving kind of fast for Trey Lance right now. And I think it was moving at a different speed for Lance than it was for Sam Darnold, at least at a consistent basis. Now, we see, especially how, like, last game ended with the Broncos, Trey Lance, he got hot, and you see that ability that he has. But the lows from that game, I think, is what probably worries Kyle Shanahan the most. And you didn't quite see those kind of lows from Sam Darnold. I think he looked a little bit more steady. I think he was more comfortable in the pocket with what he was seeing. And I think Kyle Shanahan, looking at his backup quarterback, like, that's what he's looking for. So as far as this year goes, I don't think there's an opportunity for Trey Lance unless all these quarterbacks go down, which you got to remove the injury part of it, that you'd see him be able to play over Sam Darnold. That scenario kind of seems hard for me to fathom.
So it seems like Kyle Shanahan, or it doesn't seem like, it is like Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are doubling down. They're going all in for the Super Bowl. Has there ever been higher stakes for the Niners to win a Super Bowl that you can remember?
Ooh, I would say, coming off of the Super Bowl loss to Kansas City, it felt like they were kind of going all in on that next year. Then obviously, like, you had the injuries and things like that. Then you went and got Trey Lance. But I don't know. I feel like regardless, there are people making a lot of different assumptions about this team, about Kyle Shanahan. But one thing about Kyle Shanahan, regardless of kind of who he has out there at quarterback, as long as they're competent, they're going to be a very competitive team. So they're going to be right there in the mix for it. The stakes, I think, for Kyle, he'll tell you every year they're really high. Every year his expectations are to win the Super Bowl or at least be in the mix there. So I wouldn't think that we'd see anything less.
Eric, how do you predict this plays out then for Trey Lance? Does he remain QB3 for the Niners? Is he on another team here soon? What's the future for Trey?
he better go somewhere else because what he needs isn't with the 49ers. I've been on these NFL teams. I was with the New York Jets for a while. And when I was with the Jets, that third-string quarterback, I think it was Matt Sims, he wasn't getting any reps. During practice, you have your starter. He's going to get pretty much most of your reps. You have the backup. He'll kind of get whatever's left. And he did a lot of the scout team stuff. And then the third-string guy, he's not getting any reps, so he's not going to get better. So even if Trey Lance is hanging around the 49ers as a third-string quarterback, there's not really the reps that he's going to get for him and what he needs to potentially become the quarterback that he believes he can be, or even like the 49ers. They still believe he can become that guy, but he's not going to have that opportunity with them. So he better try to get, push his way out of there and potentially go somewhere else because I just don't see the development that he needs and really just reps. I think that's why when we watch him in the preseason, you see as the games go on, he starts to get more and more comfortable. He starts to get better. He starts to settle down. So a lot of it's just him getting the reps that's necessary for his development, and he's just not going to get it with the 49ers. Definitely not as a third-string quarterback.
Eric, do you think it would be better if he went somewhere and he was still QB2 with the potential to be a QB1? So we're talking about maybe Tampa Bay, maybe Washington. I know they've floated out places even like Minnesota or Tennessee. Do you think a QB2 position where he can really fight to be QB1 is the best place? Because it's really not looking like he can be a QB1 anywhere just right now.
Yeah, I think QB1 is definitely off the table, especially at this point to start the year. But you mentioned things like Tampa Bay. They have Baker Mayfield, they have Kyle Trask. I could definitely see a scenario where he goes to Tampa, maybe kind of learns the system, works his way into potentially being QB2 over Trask. I think he's definitely more talented than Trask. And then, all right, if Baker Mayfield goes down, he's not the long-term answer there. Maybe you spend half a season trying to figure out what do we have with Trey Lance. And him just getting that quality time on the field, I think that would help him tremendously. I mean, I think 49ers are trying to give him that type of experience last season, but he just happened to snap his ankle. So definitely going to a place like them, maybe like the Minnesota Vikings, if things start to kind of fall apart, which I don't really anticipate. I think Kirk Cousins has done very well, but they are a team that has inquired about him. They probably look at him as a better long-term option than Nick Mullins. So, hey, maybe we can bring him over. Nick Mullins can kind of bring him along, and that helps them get rid of Kirk Cousins, who they don't see as a long-term answer. And they said, hey, we're not talking about any type of contract extension with Kirk Cousins. So I think a place like Minnesota, that would help. I think the bigger thing right now is what's the compensation? Yep. And in San Francisco, 49ers, for whatever reason, feel like the compensation that has been mentioned in terms of Trey Lance is not enough for them to move off of him, which I think is kind of ridiculous. Like, if he's your third-string quarterback, you just kind of got to let him go, even if that just means a 6th-round pick or a 5th-round pick.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask as we're talking with Eric Crocker here, a host of Locked On Niners. Where do you think that tipping point is? Everybody's got a number or a pick slot that they would settle on. Where do you think Lynch would actually budge and settle?
I would say probably like right now, you say 4th-round pick. Like if he might be playing hardball with teams and they are willing to let him go for less, but maybe they're just trying to say, hey, let's see if we can get a 4th-round pick, or let's see if we can get him into this next game, give him the whole second half to play. If he showcases that he really does have this ability, which we have seen, but just giving him more extensive playing time, maybe that can drive up the price a little bit for some teams that might be interested. So I'd assume that there's something on the table right now, but they're trying to see what is the best value we can get for him. And if I had to bet, and I would say if I'm a betting man, but I am a betting man, but me being the betting man I would bet that come week 1, he will not be on the 49ers.
All right, Eric, I want to switch it up just a bit here. You had a viral tweet about Reggie Bush. You said you're watching the Johnny Manziel Untold Story. And when I saw this tweet, Eric, I thought, oh my goodness, put this one in the Hall of Fame because this is such a good take. You said, I'm confused by something. Manziel is on a Netflix documentary with his best friend talking about all the illegal stuff they were doing. What's the difference between the stuff he's doing and keeping his Heisman and Reggie Bush getting shipped off his? Manziel actually, quote, retweeted you and agreed with you, saying it was complete BS, his words. And then yesterday, Reggie Bush comes out and files a lawsuit against the NCAA. Eric, are you the domino that started all this? Because that's really impressive, man.
The funny thing is, just like anybody else, I'm just watching the documentary and I'm seeing all this stuff. I'm like, wait, they are openly telling us all the illegal stuff they were doing, like just flat out telling us. And Reggie Bush, I'm thinking that, and I don't know all the details, but I know it was along the lines of illegal benefits and things like that. So if Reggie Bush got stripped of it and he got banned from USC and couldn't go to college football games, I mean, it was ridiculous, right? And Manziel is holding up his Heisman Trophy still. He still gets to look at that, and he's telling us everything that he was doing. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Now, Manziel did say he does think it's BS that Reggie Bush does not have his Heisman and he should get it back, but he also said that the illegal things he was doing was after he won the Heisman. I think there's a little BS with that, but I guess if that's the angle you want to take, I kind of understand. At the end of the day, a lot of illegal activities going on. The NCAA looked into it, and I guess they found there wasn't enough evidence, even though he's on here telling us, hey, we put stuff in my grandpa's name so the NCAA wouldn't find out. I don't know. I think there's more than enough evidence. I ain't no snitch. I think I snitched a little too. But, yeah, it just sounded pretty interesting.
Well, good for you to start that, Eric. We got to run, but you said you're a betting man, so give us quickly a date that Bosa signs. When's that happening?
Oh, let's go. He'll leading up to week 1, he will be signed. So shortly after this week, I would say he'll be signed. That's probably the least of my worries with the 49ers.
That's right. That's story 10 right now. All right, Eric, thank you so much. Check him out, Lock on 49ers host. Eric, thank you. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, thank you. He did start something. I mean, that was pretty big. Manziel follows up. I mean, that's awesome.
And I thought it was really cool that Manziel agreed with him, too.
Yeah.
He's like, something isn't right about this. And Reggie Bush, and I think Manziel went on to say that Reggie Bush was one of the greatest college players of all time, which I agree. Like, my childhood was Reggie Bush. I didn't even like USC.
Yeah, that's the right answer. Yeah, that's the right answer.
I'm glad you like that answer.
Yes. When we come back, look, we talked so much about the 49ers, but does the quarterback situation even matter right now? Not according to NFL.com. We'll explain that next.